Okay, what's up, everyone? So today I'm here with Sanjay. Sanjay is actually one of my mates from back in the day. We took a course together. It was around $5,000 or $6,000 back then, and we actually did a lot of accountability course together back in the day. We were kind of accountability partners when we were starting our businesses out. So I wanted to talk to Sanjay to get him to tell you guys a little bit more about his story. Learn that process from start to finish, what it's like starting a brand new business. So Sanjay, maybe you could start off by telling us a little bit about where you're at right now, and then take us through the journey from start to finish.
100%. Good to be with you again, man. So I'm going to say I'm 5 years in business now. It was 5 years ago. I was just working in the corporate world. I was just a normal guy scrolling a Facebook feed at work as you do in the corporate world. And I saw an ad for that business course, and I wasn't special at all. I had like zero business experience, but I just clicked that ad and joined this business course. And it was 12-week course, taught us the basics of business, but I'd made a decision at that point that I was going to go all in and do everything I needed to do to just make sure I got this off the ground. And it was tough, man. It was challenging, but 5 years later, it's off the ground and life is good.
Yeah, for sure. And I guess what was the spark that made you decide to join that course in the first place?
As I said, I was in the corporate world. I had kind of climbed the corporate ladder, and I got to a stage where I'd done everything I wanted to do in my career. It was an IT career. I was running a team. I'd done everything I needed to do, and I realized that if I stayed that path, then there was really going to be nothing interesting or fascinating for me about the world. I had this spirit of adventure in my heart. So that kind of just got me over the edge. It was a leap of faith. I had to drop everything that I had worked so hard for, but took the leap of faith. And as I said, I was very intent on going all in and making sure I did whatever it took to get the results.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. And what was it like, when you first jumped into that course, pulled out your credit card and bought that, $5,000 or $6,000 course it was back then? It was like a launch day, right? So that was a crazy feeling. But, once you actually jumped into the course, what was it like going through that process of that 12-week procedure that you had?
Yeah, interesting, exciting. I mean, that launch day was something special. As you know, for me, I had to stay up in the middle of the night to actually make sure I got my spot into the course. But I'd made a decision; I was all in. So stayed up all night, made sure I was in. The start of the course was fascinating. Actually, it was really, really interesting. I had never learnt content like that before. I'd never learnt about how to build a business and how much thought goes behind a business. So it was really fascinating. I worked very, very hard. So the content in the course, all the things that me and you have discussed over the last few years, all the things that you teach, very similar. I felt like it wasn't too difficult. So I went through the content, did all the homework, took the coaching was a key method that I've learned, just followed the coaching, did everything I needed to do, and then made sure I was reading a lot of books and doing a lot of other training in the background. So man, it was awesome. It was awesome. It was a time of great change for me, a really kind of pivotal moment in my life.
Okay. And what would you say was kind of the most difficult thing about going through that process?
I think the excitement in the first few weeks is amazing. It's really, really good fun. But then there comes a point during that course where you realize, okay, business isn't easy. Business is super, super hard. So I think, to my memory, maybe after the first 6 to 8 months, I realized, okay, I've been working really hard, but actually, it's a lot more challenging than anything that I've done in my past. I really had to level up. So it was difficult, but there was a big evolution curve there. So got the fruits out of that labor, but it was challenging.
Okay. And in terms of that evolution, what would you say were the key things that, evolved in that process for you?
Yeah, I mean, so much. Just realizing how intelligent and how hardworking business owners are, how much emotional pressure that they are willing to put up with. So for me, I came into this course, and when you've worked a job, that you just don't realize how intense it is to build a business, especially starting from scratch. So I think your question was, what was the major evolution curve? I guess learning how much I had to learn, how much I had to read, learning about things like how important it was for the right people to be around me, the right content to be around me, people like you. I made sure that I kept the right mentors around me. And then I think just the level of pressure, like how you have to really lean into your fear and learn to take that pressure before you can get that level of success.
Yeah. Yeah, that's so true. Okay, and as you went through the course, I guess the next thing would be, what was that process like for you to getting that very first client? And tell us a little bit about that story.
Oh man, that one of the greatest buzzes in business, as you know. I mean, you probably shared that glory. So the first client I ever got, so I was working my corporate job, and I was selling animation, something similar to some of your clients, and so I got in this sales meeting by sending out hundreds and hundreds of emails, and I had one response, and I jumped on that response, prepared this amazing sales presentation, had a pre-prepared proposal, pre-prepared pitch, all sorts of things. Turned up to this meeting, and I was very formal, very prepared. And then this guy was just so casual. So he was just so relaxed, and I didn't realize, okay, it's not that big a deal. Like I just had to show up and just make sure that I was offering value, because he knew nothing about my product. So my knowledge compared to his was expert level. I ran through that meeting. I remember being insanely nervous. I remember the anxiety before. Got out, made a follow-up call, and a couple of days later, my pricing was about, say, 1/10 of what our pricing is now. But I was very, very nervous to ask for that price. But it turned out to be easy. It was like, cool, yeah, when can we start? And that feeling of when you're like trying to be normal on the phone, but under the table you're fist pumping, like ready to run around celebrating with your shirt off. It was like that.
Yeah. It's such an awesome feeling. And every time you start a new business as well, you always get that same feeling again, like, oh wow, I can actually sell this to someone. Because even though you get that first sale in your first business, you think that's the only thing you can sell, and you start a new business, you're like, oh wow, I can sell this as well. That's crazy. And I think another key point.
I totally agree. So for us, we started offering new services. I mean, you've been talking about that, and it's the same thing. Like when you build a new service, you build a new team, you've got it already, but you just have like a little bit of doubt. You're like, oh, can I sell this as a new service? And then you make that first sale, maybe not as glorious as the first ever sale in business, but every time it's magnificent.
Yeah. Yeah. And there's always, I think, when you're first starting out, before you get that first sale, we all feel that level of doubt. And we think that it's some kind of, super complicated process. And we think that we need to be super well prepared, amazing salespeople, have the best offer in the world. But at the end of the day, I think 80% of the time, it's literally just being in front of them with something that they want.
At the right time.
Yeah, being in the right place at the right time is literally 80% of sales, I would say. So
that's what you learn. Like if you're being taught by someone who knows what they're doing, if you just follow the process, when it comes to a sales call, if someone knows what they're doing and they show you how to run the sales call, like we had scripts and things like that. I know you had that in your course too. So when you just follow the script, it's like your level of knowledge and execution is already good enough. Like you're already going to make sales.
Yeah, because most people have that kind of imposter syndrome, believing that they're not who they're saying they are when they're selling something. And I think everyone has that in the beginning, but you've got to realize, when you start a business and you put in research into learning about the service that you're selling, who it's serving, what solution it's providing, what problem it's solving. Once you have all of that knowledge around the process, around the service, that's all you need to be able to sell it. That's all you need, because most of the time you're going to know more than the person you're selling to just with that knowledge. And that's all you're going to need to know.
the expertise gap between them and you after you've learned those prerequisite things is so big that you can sell them. Not only can you sell them though, you can also be offering massive value to them because the knowledge levels are so different.
Yeah, yeah. And you also find as well that once you get that first sale, they're usually going to want to buy different things from you as well, even in completely different services. So I think that's something that you really found as well, Sanjay, these days with your sales process is having those additional services to sell. Maybe you could talk to us a little bit about the process of going from that first sale to, hitting your first milestones, whether that be your first 10K month or whatever.
Yep, absolutely. So I think, especially with selling on the internet, um, the most important thing is trust at the end of the day, because there's so many different vendors. If someone's buying your service, they're probably seeing marketing from other companies doing the same service. So I feel like the key is trust. So if you can just get your foot in the door with an initial project. For us, we started as an animation studio, so we just wanted to do one animation. These days we do a really cheap strategy session even. If we can just get our foot in the door, then as long as you're delivering a good service, you build a really good level of trust with that person. And then once you've over delivered on that first sale, on that first product, then you can offer them a whole suite of products. And if you think about it for a business owner, if you're selling B2B, business owner's got a million things on his mind. He wants one reliable, trustworthy source of digital marketing that he can just rely on, and he doesn't have to worry about it. And if you've proven that in that initial project, then you can sell them different products for years and years to come, and you're doing them a great service because they don't have to worry about trusting you. They already know you know what you're doing.
Yeah, so true. It's very interesting as well. I mean, you have an interesting approach as well, because I remember when we were first starting our sales processes, you had a very different approach to me. I was always trying to do everything fully automated, and you were always wanting to be very, very kind of personal, even going to the extent of flying over to your clients. So maybe you could tell us a little bit more about your thinking and your process around that, because I think it's very interesting.
I love that. Yeah, me and we used to exchange a lot of ideas, and even though my sales process is almost exactly the opposite to yours, to this day I've still got a lot of the things that you did implemented into my process. So my thinking is I want to create lifetime clients, and I'm also very much impacted by the saying your network is your net worth. So the people that you have around you is very valuable in your life. So for me, I'm a little bit older. I think I'm 10 years older than you. So at that stage of my life when we were starting, I think from memory, you wanted to travel all over the world, which is super, super cool. I'd just come back from traveling all over the world. So I wanted to build a network and kind of work in, I guess, work for more corporate companies. So my thinking is if I can kind of sell a high ticket product, really get myself into that company, into that boardroom, deliver a great higher ticket product, then the lifetime value of that customer for the next 1 to 5, even 10 years starts to become really, really massive. But also what I've found is, especially for those higher ticket clients, they have networks of people where they introduce you. Their friends are always looking for people that they can trust and rely on. And so when you get introduced, it's a great source of revenue, great source of clients, but also a really great source of friends. These people are very wise, very good to hang out with. They tend to know the secrets of life. So I've found that with a lot of my higher ticket clients that I've spent the money to go see, or I've spent the time to build an in-person relationship. The dividends that has paid on both a business and personal level has been really profound.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I really like that. And I guess the next question would be, tell us a little bit more, like with your first sale, how long did it take you to get that first sale, if you remember?
Yeah, it's going to be. I did it after the 12 weeks. So I'm going to say 3 or 4 months.
Pretty similar to me.
I don't quite remember. Yeah,
Yeah.
It would have been pretty similar to me, to you. Like I remember we were kind of like all popping like popcorn. We're all popping it like around the same time. But yeah, so what happened is I made that sale, and then once you've made one sale, the second one tends to come a few weeks later. And some really intense lessons I learned back in those days from our network, from the same people me and you staying out with, is you just got to make your first 4 sales. Like, doesn't matter what you sold them for. I made a loss on a couple of those sales. It really doesn't matter. Just make 4 sales. Get some money exchange, get some testimonials and case studies is the most important thing. And then once you made those 4 sales and you got those 4 case studies, then like you're almost home. You know, I think the next milestone after that is make 10 sales. Even if that takes a year or 2, it doesn't matter. Once you make 10 sales, you got a business and you'll never look back.
Yeah. That's cool. I like that. And okay, that's interesting. So maybe talk a little bit about the process of becoming more high ticket with your offer, because I know that was one of your main focuses throughout your entire process. Tell me more about
that. Definitely. So I feel like originally when we learned business, I feel like there was a lot of focus on premium and high ticket, and I really resonated with that. And it's not that I'm against the kind of more automated methodology. I love that as well. But for me, I really resonated with the high ticket because the way that I thought is if I really care about the craft, then if I sell high ticket, I can focus on getting better and better at the craft of digital marketing. Whereas with the lower ticket items, you can't get better and better because you always got to focus on more efficiency. But that doesn't mean it's a bad business model, because on the flip side, when you're running a really beautiful automated business, perhaps you can then have your passion and craft on the side, or you can go travel or whatever. So I'm not against the lower ticket offer. It's just that I was really passionate about marketing. I wanted to, even to this day, I want to be selling 5 and 6 figure. I want to be selling 6 and 7 figure marketing deals at some stage. And I have actually got 1 6-figure clients, but I want to be doing that on the regular. For me to be able to do that, it's going to require, it's going to require basically a lot more skill set and me being able to give a lot more value, which is higher ticket products.
Yeah. What's the highest ticket sale you've had?
So the highest ticket sale I've had, initial sale, which came through a Facebook ad, was 22K, which is pretty good in AUD. But using exactly what you were talking about before, the way that I will make the bigger sales is by making that first initial sale and then upselling once I've built a level of trust. But yeah, I mean, man, when we first started business, when me and you first started, in my mind, it was impossible to sell something for even $5,000. It was impossible to sell that online on the internet. I thought that was ridiculous. And then fast forward, my biggest deal is actually with a client overseas, and I've never actually shook their hand before. It's possible, you know. It's possible. You just got to keep pursuing the path.
Yeah, it's so true. And would you say, you know, as you went through that process of building your sales process specifically, so, you know, once you get a lead come in, with that process you go through, what would you say the main keys are in that process to getting the sale, the kind of quick tips or special things that you would say?
I love it. I'm going to say exactly what I think you would say. Maybe you even told me this back in the day. I'm going to say repetition. It's just a matter of follow the coaching, follow whatever coach you have. So I guess in the context of this conversation, I'm assuming you provide some sort of training in your course. Do you guys put sales training into your course? Yeah. Awesome. Okay, cool. So if they're getting sales training off you, you gave me a lot of coaching on this back in the day. If you've got that sales script, you've got as good a script as you can get in this industry. So all it is about repetition. But I think most people fall off in that they don't realize how much repetition. For me, at this stage, I would have been on a few thousand sales calls probably by now. I'm sure you're very similar. And I've been on hundreds, if not, I'm going to say hundreds of in-person or virtual sales processes with CEOs or boards or anything like that. So now it's at the stage where if I ran one with a high-profile TV personality here, very well known. I won't say his name, but I was super comfortable. I could lead that room. There was 4 people in the room, had no problems because I'd done it so many times. Yeah, I was nervous, but it it didn't matter. So repetition, once you got any script, as long as you can do it hundreds of times, you're going to be fine.
Yeah, I think that's key. And a lot of people as well, when they first start, they're kind of, afraid of doing the sales calls. And I mean, there are ways of getting around that, hire a salesperson or just selling a lower ticket item with paid advertising, usually going to be able to sell directly on the sales page. But, if you are going to be building a sales system that requires calls, there isn't anything crazy special that you need to do. People think you need to be, a really great salesperson with special things that you say on the calls, but most of the time it's a very simple process, and it's really does come down to repetition and learning, the answers to questions, getting that coaching and slowly developing that ability. Because even if you're introverted, even if you have an accent or whatever it may be, whatever the thing is that you're worried about, people have done it already. They've done it with the
100%.
same situation or in a worse situation than you. It's just about repetition and becoming comfortable. I would say becoming comfortable with sales is more important than any sales tactics you're going to get, because if you're comfortable on the call, you're going to build a connection much better with a potential client, and that way they're going to trust you a lot more and they're going to want to work with you. So yeah, becoming comfortable is really key, and that just comes through repetition. You're always going to be nervous on that first call.
Boom, exactly. And I want to say that, like, if you're afraid of doing sales calls, I certainly was. You, like, from my memory, you were a cold calling gun back in the day. I'm not sure if that's true or not, but certainly for me, I was very frightened of sales calls, and I'd never done it before. But that is all the more reasons why you should do it. Like, it's so important. Like, even if you're building an automated funnel that doesn't require a salesperson, at some stage you're going to need to be really proficient at going to decision makers and being able to sell something. Even if you're not selling your own product, maybe you can sell the business one day, maybe you're going to sell a partnership or something like that. So I think, like, everyone should embrace sales and go in with the mindset of evolution, knowing that if you do hundreds of sales calls, then your level of evolution in terms of the way that you can interact with people is going to be much higher than everyone around you.
Yeah. And I would say that, when you're building your first business, when you're first getting into this, it's not really about, getting to the end goal as quickly as possible. It's about building the skills that allow you to consistently bring in clients at the end of the day. So that just comes through repetition and making offers. Making offers is really the most important thing that you can do in your business, right? Especially for us. Because, the thing is that back in the day, you couldn't start a business like this. You just couldn't. And it wasn't nearly as easy as it is now. So there's a lot of people doing it, but that's simply because it's a lot easier as well. And to stand out from the crowd, you simply need to find the right niche, find the right service, create a great offer, and be really good at delivering that offer to your clients. And you're going to have regular clients coming in that buy more and more things from you. And that's really the key. So if you can build that skill, become comfortable with it, and actually put an effort into crafting that, coming up with creative solutions to novel problems, right? So being creative, solving problems, that's the key. And then what that all culminates in is making offers. It's your ability to make as many offers as possible, but also as targeted as possible. So you're going to be testing those offers, testing different audiences. That's so important. And I think a lot of people overlook that. They decide to focus more on, what their logo looks like or choosing what their name should be. And yeah, it's kind of beyond the point.
I love it. Like, man, that's such a great point. Like, if you don't make the offer, then you don't really have any feedback of whether you went well or not. So yeah, always make the offer. And man, yeah, of course, it's unbelievable how many people get into business and like spend the first few weeks deciding on logo, colors, name. Like, that's a 1 hour job, if that. It's a 5-minute job, and then spend 55 minutes enjoying yourself afterwards.
Yeah, exactly. And I think as well that people, in a way, they enjoy theorizing. They enjoy thinking about what they should do and finding the perfect answer, because first of all, they're afraid of failure. But second of all, they just don't want to move outside of their comfort zone, which taking action is always going to be outside your comfort zone, unless it's something that's a habit that you do every day. So it's not a habit when you're first starting out, and it's going to be uncomfortable, but you just need to be willing to take massive action and focus on making decisions, making good decisions, but don't, worry so much about every single little decision. In the grand scheme of things, it's not going to matter. And by taking action, you're going to fail, and then you're going to learn from those failures. And then you're going to, not repeat that failure, but you're going to get to the end goal faster by taking action. The more action you take, the faster you're going to get there.
100%. I'm going to say that you like there is no destination. You never actually make it anyway. Like,
Yeah.
it's just at the end of the day, it's just evolution because you do make it. So both you and I, back in the day when we used to speak every week, like we were talking about exactly what we're living. We kind of we made it, but you don't make it because like there's just a new level of problems, a new level of stress. It's like it's always more spectacular living your dreams than you ever could imagine, but it's also always more like not as good as you thought it would be. It wears off very quickly. So it's just evolution at the end of the day. It's all
Yeah.
evolution. Like take massive action. Don't worry about the fruits of your labor. It doesn't really matter anyway. Like it's just about evolving, changing the person you become, and then in a few years' time, you'll be exactly the person that you want it to be. But there's no difference. You still keep going, still want to keep evolving.
Yeah, yeah, I think that's the key. And it's all about getting higher quality problems. So as you move up, you get
Oh
higher
yeah.
quality problems and you get bigger goals at the end of the day.
What's
So
your biggest problem right now, if you don't mind me turning the interview around on you?
honestly, man, my biggest problem right now is just having too many things on my to-do list. Like it's crazy. I have a
Nice.
team, obviously, that does some of the things, and I try and automate it as much as possible. But there's always new things, new ideas, new things that need to be done, and I just can't get to everything. So that's really
You
annoying for
never
me,
will.
especially being an impatient person. I just want to get everything done as fast as possible. It's crazy. So my to-do list just being too big. What about yourself?
Nice, good one. Mine's energy until very recently. I feel like I mean I'm just pushing, but there's always got to be a balance between how much you push and how much rest you take to actually recover. And on and off throughout my business career, like throughout 5 years, I pushed too hard into burnout, and then there's been times where like I didn't quite get it right and like relaxed a bit too much. I feel like the last 7 or 8 months I have been relaxed and maybe a little bit anxious, like waking up anxious. So my energy hasn't been quite right. But the last few weeks have been hitting the gym extra hard, focusing a lot on my sleep, that sort of thing. Just being a bit more disciplined with my health and feeling a bit better. But yeah, energy. I need to quadruple my energy levels right now, same as you, so that I can get through that task list and and get everything done that I want to. I need a
Yeah.
limitless pill.
Yeah, yeah. Well, the thing is, as well, like with those types of things, I even talk about a lot of that energy stuff in the course, and get into habits and all that. But I think the
Awesome.
most
Yeah.
important thing with it is having that balance as well, because you have to remember, you've probably heard it, production versus production capacity, from Stephen Covey's the 7 Habits of Highly Effective People is so true, because you can have can work 24 hours a day, but if you're not doing good work, if you're not doing focused work and actually achieving anything in that 24 hours that you're working, supposedly, you're not going to get as much done as someone that is working effectively or efficiently for 4 hours a day, actually getting things done fully focused, deep work. So those things are really key. And then, having those external habits, I think we really lose focus on those. We don't think they are important. And I think they're massively important. Obviously, you go through periods where you work all day and you don't do all of those things you should do for your energy, and that does lead to burnout eventually. And it's fine to do when you've got like a launch coming up or you need to quickly get something done, but you do need to have that daily plan that you stick to, those daily habits that you stick to, in order to actually feel like you're being productive in those hours that you meant to be working. And I think that's key. That's something that I'm super crazy about. That. So
I know that. Yeah, I know that a lot. I think a lot of the habits that we used to discuss back in the day still very much apply to me. I still use them a lot. Just like things like measuring, monitoring where you're at. I think in business you're always going to be pushing into your red line zone. The idea is that's evolution. Like you're always pushing into your fear, always pushing into how much that you can do. But yeah, as long as you have your disciplines and your habits right, mate, those things that me and you used to discuss back in the day, I still have a lot of that implemented. Maybe not to the extent you used to have it. Remember, you used to have these crazy spreadsheets measuring everything. But
yeah.
but yeah, as long as you can monitor yourself and just make sure you don't hit burnout, because once you hit burnout, you're fucked.
Yeah, I mean, talking about those spreadsheets, I even get into that in the course with students. I even give them the spreadsheet and all of that, and I go
Good,
into it, and
yeah.
I'm trying to teach everyone to use it. But you have to be a special kind of crazy to really use it long term, like me. So
I mean, you got to be a special kind of crazy to do business. I think like those types of spreadsheets is mandatory when you're starting business, because
Yeah.
you don't really know what you're doing. You don't know the level of discipline and detail that other business owners a few years ahead of you have already implemented. So you got to like have a mentor like yourself who tells you this is how you have to do it, and you just got to follow it for I'm going to say like a year or two, and then eventually like you get wise enough to be like, oh man, this guy is like ridiculous, I don't need to follow that. Or maybe you're like, okay, cool, well this is exactly what I need for my personality type.
Yeah. Yeah. And I think as well, it really depends on your goals as well. Like some people just want to get to, $10,000 a month, and then they'll be happy with that. And that's fine. But if you want to get to those really high levels, you need to be implementing a plan and really going hard on that plan. And in the beginning, even if you do want to get to $10,000 a month, it's going to be, putting in as much work as you possibly can. Of course, some people have full-time jobs and all of that doing on the side, but just put in as much work as you can until you can hit your goals. But once you get to those goals, you're going to find you end up having bigger goals anyway, and you're going to
And
you're
do
going to
you
want to go after them.
yeah, agree. Do you know anyone? We all of us, that used to be our grandest goal, to hit 10K months, and like I feel like me and you like worked really hard towards it together a lot. But do you know anyone who made it to 10K months and then decided they were happy with that and they didn't want to go any further?
Yeah, I reckon I know a few people, but not many. Most
Okay.
people end up having bigger goals. Like entrepreneurs always have bigger goals. And you
Yeah.
don't need to be an entrepreneur to start a business, but like your business isn't going to be a big business, and it's not going to be a crazy successful business if you're not. And you can become one as well. I think that you know some people are born entrepreneurs, but some people teach themselves as well. So yeah, I'm not really
I'm a
sure.
perfect example of that.
Yeah, yeah,
I wasn't entrepreneurial at all. I was like brought up to be like very straight down the line. Like everyone around me was like that, so I didn't know what it was like to hunt for your own food. It was super super scary for me. I had to be taught from scratch. Now I don't know what it's like to not hunt for your own food.
yeah, yeah, yeah. It's very interesting when you look back and you're like, hey, actually, it's weird to me that people go to a job every day and like at 9 to 5. I don't get that. I couldn't do that. Yeah, it's kind
I
of
would say the same, even
arrogant in
though
a
I
way.
work 7 to 7 now. Like,
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
I'd say it's like so limiting. Like, it's so it must be so difficult to have to go to the office from 9 to 5 every day. You must feel so frustrated. I mean, but at the end of the day,
Some
I'm
people like it.
sitting
Some
like,
people like it because it means that they can come home after work and not think about work as well. So I think it depends on the
exactly, and
person as well, like what they prefer.
dude, I definitely don't say either lifestyle is better. Like, I
Yeah,
prefer the business lifestyle, but I definitely would not preach that it
yeah.
is better. It's just more suited to what
It's
I
kind
want
of
to do in my
popular
life.
online these days to really preach like, oh, 9 to 5 is bad and stuff like that.
You get I think all business owners when they start, I was probably the worst example of this. I have a feeling you probably were too. You get this ego of like, oh, I'm so cool because I started a business, and then like you start like preaching and talking down on other people. But what I realized, especially for me, that just came from a fear. It came from fear of like, fuck, like now I don't have that job, and also I don't know if I'm gonna make it. And like, so I had like this fear, and the way that I took it out on other people was like trying to talk down on the office life.
Yeah,
But yeah, that's just part of the evolution of business. Like I learned over the years that all of your darkest insecurities come up through the challenge of business, and that's a beautiful thing, because like once you deal with them, then you're done. You never have to deal with that again. Almost like
yeah.
you evolve or you up level.
Yeah, yeah, that's so true. And I think that the most dangerous period for that are those beginning stages where you're getting like the period before getting your first sale is the most dangerous period, because you're most likely to give up during that first
Yeah,
period. And often it comes down to, not being willing to go outside your comfort zone, not being willing to take those actions, and then saying, oh, I haven't gotten a sale yet. It's been a week. I don't think that this works, or it doesn't work for me. And those are usually the biggest limiting beliefs really that people have when it comes to starting a business.
agreed. It's not rocket science. It's like it's not at all difficult. Like I mean, you've actually like laid the path. Like you've given everyone the golden ticket. Like all you have to do is follow. But I would say like if you sign up to a course. Certainly that's how I felt. You felt the same. Once you sign up, you're all in. There's no like there is no failure. So as long as you put at least 50 hours of work in a week, I'm going to say 60 when you're starting, but whatever, up to you. As long as you read a book a week, and as long as you just follow the steps that your mentor lays out for you, like you can't fail. It's not possible to fail. You just got to keep persisting. But you also got to realize like it's the hardest game in the world. It's the hardest blood sport in the world. So like it ain't going to be easy. Even if you make the first sale easily, like you're going to get challenges at some stage.
There's always going to be challenges, and you have to be willing to go through them. And that just comes down to wanting to grow, wanting to achieve things. And it's interesting as well. I mean, like as you go through that process, you need to realize it's almost like a video game. You know, you're going to build the skills at the video game, get better at the video game, and build your character over time. It's not like, oh my God, I haven't built it yet, or I haven't gotten to that end goal. It's about the process of building it, because by following that process, you're going to get the results anyway, if you actually follow and implementing the process. And I would say that actually taking action in the process is the most important thing. People focus too much on, dreaming about what's going to happen, but never actually taking action towards making it happen. That's probably the biggest problem in terms of, the things that people do, or the habits and behaviors they have when they're starting.
Yes, I mean, especially at the start, you got to take massive action, I believe was your terminology. Like, you just got to go all in, especially the first few months. Like, I don't know what the statistics are, but I think in the first year, what is it, like 90% fail or anything like that? But like, if you swap the statistics around and said like, out of all the people that truly went all in, truly decided to work, let's say the 50 or 60 hours a week, truly decided to read one book a week, truly decided to actually follow their mentor's steps, I'd say that over 90% of those people succeed.
Yeah. Yeah, it's so true. It's not about like when you look at, even things like multi-level marketing and all of that kind of stuff, or real estate or any of those different areas that people get into, it's always going to have a high failure rate, but that always comes down to people giving up. So most people just give up. They don't actually take action. And that's the problem. So, actually motivating people to take action and making things as easy as possible for them is really key. But at the end of the day, it's up to the person to take action with the information, with this type of stuff too. And I think that's really important for people to be aware of is, it's up to you. The results are in your hands. You just need to implement the things that have been given to you and build those skills. And you're going to get there if you don't give up. If you solve problems, if you fail and you learn from those failures, you're not going to fail. It's impossible to fail. I've never seen anyone fail who hasn't given up. I know people that have gone at it for a year, like a whole year, and gotten, a $200 sale, and then now their business is doing $290,000 per year. So like
those are usually the people that that do the best when they struggle. Actually, I was one of those kind of things. But what you said just gave me a flashback of my time in when I was first learning. I was like, we were divided into groups, and everyone in my group was making a sale, and I was struggling to make a sale. I found it really, really tough. But like, it's usually the people that find it really tough but persist, like just relentlessly persist. Those people struggle, but then they're the ones that usually succeed long term because they've been through that struggle. They know that once they've got through that, they're like, okay, cool. If I got through that, I can get through anything. And then they usually skyrocket.
Yeah, that's so true. That's so true. Yeah, I think we really hit on a lot of good points here, Sanjay. So maybe to close things up for everyone, you can have any last words for them of inspiration.
I like to say that it is like 100% possible. Like, what can I say? For me, I'm not at all a special guy. In fact, I started off as a disadvantage. I feel like a lot of people that made it in business started as a disadvantage. I kind of didn't know what I was doing, didn't really have so much confidence, all that sort of stuff. But if you just stick with it, like just please stick with it. Just go all in. You've got all of the most profound wisdom that you need from Dylan. Like you've also coached me back in the day, man. I understand how much you know. Like all you got to do is put in the work, just follow the path, go through the inevitable challenges, and then whatever your wildest dreams are, you'll be living it in a few years.
Yeah, so true. Commitment is the key at the end of the day, and taking action. So yeah, awesome. Thanks for that, Sanjay. Everyone have any questions, comment below, and talk to you soon.
Good to chat, man.